Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. Now you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of anywhere else? And that's because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They say this all the time. They talk down to us. They think we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube, Twitter. But I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip of First Things First with Chris Broussard's Under Duress list. I think it's specifically in the final four. We'll take a look. It's probably both men's and female, men and women. So we'll take a listen and we'll break it down from there.
Smart segment where I pretend to read a fake letter that I wrote upstairs from two children with names that rhyme.
Oh, he admitted it.
Wow. Oh, we're a smart show. Dear Wilds, love the show and the recent conversations about Wemby and how many stocks, steals and blocks, he has. Question for Brew. Before he casts his official vote, how much does Brew analyze defensive statistics like defensive plus minus and stocks? Thanks, Ryan and Brian. Well, question for you, Brew. Are you analyzing stocks and other defensive metrics?
Oh, I'm looking at all of it. Defensive win shares.
And stocks?
Defensive BP. Stock.
We have a pun ban on the show. It's just so stupid.
I think that belly is getting bigger.
The best part of that was he just kept answering, looking at you, and that was on the screen for a good 2 seconds before Brew knew.
Western music.
You know what? And that's why.
Wish this bit
that's
would die
why I don't feel
to.
the least bit guilty
About what?
about flouting your rules in this week's Bud list.
Okay, it's not my fault.
Your rule is all three. It used to be 5.
It used to be
when
5,
I first started the show, it was 5. You cut it
We
to
also
3
were doing the
because
show
I
from our
was shining
basement.
too brightly.
No, that's right, Brew.
So
That's exactly right.
I got
and
America.
he blamed the studio and like the
Exactly.
show shorter.
Surveys.
And the focus groups say they want less
Exactly.
names.
All right, let's go.
I've got 5 people in this week's Bud.
Yeah.
Just to
Good job, Brew.
get
Stick
your
it
goat.
to him.
All right, at number 3, CJ Stroud. All right, now look, very subtly, he'll deny it probably, but Nick has tried to steal you from me, CJ.
Well, you said you
Very
need to see more from him.
loudly, Greg Jennings has tried to steal him. But you're still my guy, and that's why I'm trying to motivate you, CJ, for next year. Now, look, it's a tall order, but I got to just kick the facts. Brock Purdy got to the Super Bowl in his second year.
True.
Joe Burrow got to the Super Bowl in his second season. All right? And so now that is the charge. All right? And you do have great weapons now. You got 3 very good receivers, maybe one still great. You got Joe Mixon in the backfield. You got a defense that was good last year and will, by all estimations, be better this year. Now, the challenge is going to be this. You got one of your great receivers. You just got Stephon Diggs. Stephon's, if he brings his diva-like qualities to Houston, he may not, or he may. You have got to be able to handle it. You have got to fight off the temptation to force the ball to him.
When someone shows you who they are, listen to them.
And lay down the law that you are the leader of the offense and you're going to throw to the open man. And a lot of times it will be Stephon. But if you can do that, you know, I told you what Purdy and Burrow did. Maybe you can get to the Super Bowl this year. CJ, I believe in you. All right, at number 2, same trade, essentially, Josh Allen. All right, now, Josh is the old school rappers used to say. It's on you, so what you gonna do? All right, it's your turn, Josh. All right, now, look, nobody really wants to hear all the excuses. And they're legit. You did lose your number 1 receiver and your number 2 receiver, for that matter. You did lose.
It's all on you, Josh. Even though we take away all your weapons, keep switching out your OC, have a bad defensive head coach, a terrible culture, but it's all you, Josh Allen. You need to somehow just find a way to win. Cool. Makes sense, right?
Lose 5 captains this year. You did lose some of your greatest defensive players, and no, you don't have a number 1 receiver currently on your roster. Whether those are legit explanations and maybe not even excuses. No one wants to hear it because they're looking at Patrick Mahomes and they're saying he won 2 Super Bowls the last 2 years without.
Oh my God. He's going to say it without a number 1 receiver. Nick Wright all year said Rashee Rice is literally like the Rice, okay? You know, that he's actually really good. How great Pacheco is. Pacheco runs like he's on fire. Travis Kelce is one of the first or second best tight ends in the history of the NFL. A Hall of Famer. They had an elite defense for the last couple years with Spags, who's arguably one of the best defensive coordinators ever, and Andy Reid, who is the best head coach in the NFL, in the history of the NFL. At the very least, the best offensive head coach in the history of the NFL. I'm not going to go on my whole long rant again about all this, because I just keep saying the same things, because I can only say the same thing so many different times. But this is just getting so ridiculous.
Now his best receiver, Tyreek Hill, they're looking at Lamar Jackson saying he's won 2 MVPs, never had an awesome number 1 receiver. And I'm telling you, the haters are waiting to just throw the Madden cover. The MVP votes. All of that in your face, Josh. So you got to go out there and get it done. Nobody's thinking you got to win the Super Bowl. But you have to get this team to the postseason again and still have a great season. Josh, I believe in you. Now here, Wilds, you're not going to like this.
Which would only prove his greatness even further.
How many guys are on this?
No guys, but 3 gals. And a shout out to the NCAA Women's Tournament, which is taking the nation by storm. I don't know if everybody knows, but their game Monday, was it Monday night or Sunday night? The LSU and Iowa, 12.3 million viewers, more than the NBA Finals and the World Series last year. All right, so Caitlin Clark, you're number 1. All right, everybody, the casuals think you're the GOAT.
12 million more.
But a lot of women who are really invested in the game, and a lot of men as well, are looking at it saying, nah, she's not the GOAT. She, at the very least, she's got to get a championship to even be in the conversation. All right, and I get it because all the other greats, as Wiles have shown, have won championships. And you can't just say, well, they played at UConn, they played at Tennessee, USC back in the day with Cheryl Miller. Yes, but Cheryl Swoops played at Texas Tech, which wasn't, a basketball power. So it has been done. I know it's a tall order. I know it's tight, but it's right. All right, so you got to go out there, Caitlin.
Oh.
And if you do beat LSU,
it's a weird thing to say when talking about women's basketball.
Presumably, that'll be a heck of a thing on your resume, and you maybe will be viewed as the GOAT. All right, the second one, Dawn Staley. Dawn, you are a made woman already. Head coach of South Carolina. You've won 2 championships. Here's the thing. I think the class she wants to get into is Gino Auriemma and Pat Summitt. Yeah. Now, Gino's got 11 championships. Pat Summitt has 8. And I get it. You don't necessarily have to get that many. But the last 2 years, last year 36-0, then you lose in the Final Four. This year 36-1. So if you go 72-2 and in 2 years and don't win the championship, that is a stain. Maybe only for a little while, but it's a stain right now on the resume. So, Dawn, you got to go get it done. And finally, Paige Beckers. Now, look, Paige, when Gino said a week ago that she's the best player in the country, a lot of people thought, please, it's ridiculous. But no, when they were freshmen, Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers were both freshmen. Paige Beckers was player of the year. Yeah. And she was viewed as better. And I remember watching like, oh, she's the one. All right? But now, obviously, the tables are turned. But I'm sure Paige, with the injuries, they took you down, the injuries for the last couple of years. But I'm sure in her mind, she still thinks she's the best player. You got a chance to go out there and prove it. And here's the last thing. Look at these names. Rebecca Lobo. Oh, yeah. Sue Bird, Swin Cash, Diana Taurasi, Maya Moore, and Brianna Stewart. All UConn alum. They all won rings. Paige Beckers is in their class as far as individual talent, but they all got rings. You got to go get a ring, Paige. I know it's a tall order, but that's what you got to do. I do believe in you.
Brew, did that feel good?
That was great.
Yeah,
that
was back to your
I might start doing that every year.
You know what? I think you should.
that was
like, Wiles is going to chastise me out there. I mean, he's don't believe this smart.
Don Staley thing, I saw him. He was texting our bosses. All right, so Shout out to Jay Caspian King for bringing this to my attention. Draymond Green, I don't know if you guys know this, is a podcast.
What's it called?
The Draymond Green Show.
I'll check it out.
It's with my friend Colin Cowherd's media, our friend Colin Cowherd's media company. And he was on yesterday, the day before, and had this to say about the Houston Rockets and the game they have coming up against the Rockets. Let's take a listen. So, here's the thing.
Well, we didn't get a
Draymond
chance to
Green,
take a listen.
You're a 4-time champion. You're Defensive Player of the Year. You are the linchpin of a modern dynasty. You are now beefing with Terry Eason, Jalen Green, an injured Şengün, Jabari Smith, and the 11 seed Rockets, holding over them that you can lock up the 10 seed tonight? You were the defending champs a year ago. Like, how the mighty have fallen, my friend. Like, there is an element of, sometimes it's like, oh, don't punch down because it's mean. Sometimes it's don't punch down because then people realize, oh, you're not punching down. You're punching across. Like, that is the company with which you keep. Draymond, at the very least, you got to win today, and you can't really actually take too much joy in it. Because the night that Terry Eason said Warriors come out to play was the same night that you left Steph Curry literally in tears because you couldn't keep your hands to yourself or your mouth or your voice to yourself to the officials. So, Draymond, yeah, you're under duress.
That's a good one. And you're right. They better win. You put this out. I mean, I get it. You're right about everything you said, punching down. It does. It's kind of sad. It's kind of sad. But it'll be even sadder if they lose. All right.
I'm going to add an old friend and fan of being on the Bud list, Mac Jones.
Oh.
Mac Jones was on, was it TikTok, Dusty?
Yeah. TikTok.
Here's Mac Jones' latest TikTok. Take a listen.
Oh.
Is he joking or not?
I think he's serious. I
You
want
think
to
he's
hear
rapping?
these songs.
Do you think he's joking or do you think he's serious?
I want to know what you think, buddy.
He's serious.
If he's serious, I'm happy. If he's not serious, I'm upset.
Why?
Why?
If he's totally joking around and he's like, imagine me with bars and then cackling in laughter, because it's an issue of like, could you imagine me showing presence and creativity and quick thinking
And charisma.
and processing and charisma and command of the room? Isn't that laughable? I don't like that. If you're going for a joke hobby, just be like, you know what I like? Spelunking. I got a big hat. Oh, I'm into the caves.
You are right about that one.
But if he actually has bars, ooh, I'm back in on Mac Jones. At least he's got a Drew Lock ceiling. I've seen Drew Lock on the sidelines. The Drew Lock ceiling.
I think he's serious.
If he has bars, I feel
When's
great
the
about
last time that Mac off the field conducted himself like a franchise quarterback?
If he has bars.
Okay.
If he's got bars, we're
What'd you
good.
think of his laugh?
You know, he thought it was fun.
That's tough because obviously I honestly don't even know. But to look at that list, you know, I think there's definitely some pressure on CJ Stroud at this point because people are considering him to be elite, to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Maybe not in this exact moment, but like on that path. So now it's going to be like, you got weapons, you got the OC, you got defense, you're young, you got the team, and it is kind of win now, right? That's what we're learning with these really good quarterbacks, that they command so much money with their first contract that it gets very, very difficult to finally win. So it really is win now. I forget what the one said, outside of like a couple quarterbacks, it's like if you don't win within your first like 4 or 5 years, you don't win Super Bowls. And so that's where CJ Stroud is right now. And so I wouldn't say under duress, that's just too strong of a word to me, but pressure, which I think is different than under duress. But I think there's definitely some pressure and elevated expectations. I already went over Josh Allen. In terms of the three women up there, again, saying that you just have to find a way to win a championship, it's just like, that's just silly to me. That's just silly to me because, what do you want? Someone like a Caitlin Clark can only do so much. She can only do so much. I mean, it's just like she put up, all those points against LSU, and they still could have lost. And it would have been no fault of Caitlin Clark. So you just can't say, you got to find a way. I always hate that as analysis. You just got to find a way to win. You got to find a way to win. There are reasons and causes and conditions for every single outcome in life. There is no such thing as just find a way. That's just not the way it works. It's just not the way it works. Maybe in track and field. And then the whole thing with Draymond, how Nick just likes to take shots at this point. He says, talks about punching down and all of this, and yet he tries to punch down at Josh Allen and other players, Russell Wilson, regular fans and all of that. And so he's trying to, punch Draymond for trying to, I don't want to say he has a beef, but Draymond is old school in that way that he needs fuel for the fire. We obviously see that. And it obviously can be detrimental at times. But he needs that fuel. Okay? And the Warriors did that against the Memphis Grizzlies. The Memphis Grizzlies were no one. But they still used that fuel. Klay Thompson won a championship and then said, man, those clowns said we couldn't do it in Memphis. Get out of here. He literally says that. Because that's what a lot of these winners need. They need that motivation. Whether it's coming from a terrible team like Houston or a number one team in Denver. Right? Like, it's one of those things. Not to mention, actually, it's those good teams that they actually respect. So they don't talk all that trash because it's a respect. They don't talk the trash to the Denver Nuggets, not because they're afraid of them. It's because it's respect. Okay? The Warriors respected LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. They didn't talk trash about them, say that they're nothing. You haven't done anything. Draymond's old school where it's like, yeah, don't talk trash when you've never even done anything. And that was his whole point against the Memphis Grizzlies before. And people tried to call that out to be like, who are the Memphis Grizzlies? They tried to act that the Memphis Grizzlies were going to be this new rival with the Warriors. What happened to the Memphis Grizzlies? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They were literally talking about building a dynasty, and they built nothing. So, at this point, to call out Draymond in that aspect to me just is silly. Because it's just like, that's what he uses as motivation. Trash talking is embedded into the NBA. I personally don't love it. I'm not into the whole trash talk thing. But it's embedded into the NBA. And that just is what it is. And it's one of those things where you oftentimes talk trash to the teams that are beneath you. And that the players that you really respect, there is a lot less trash talking. Because it's insulting when the bad teams try to talk trash to the good guys, because you're just like, are you serious? That's why LeBron James was like, the whole thing of like, man, like, what are you talking about? And same thing with Klay Thompson. Like, you guys have done nothing. We are the Kings. And then that's why, KD one time famously, I forget who it was, someone was talking trash, and he was just like, and they asked him in the press conference, like, oh, so-and-so was saying this. And he's like, who said that? And I really forget who it was. And they were just like, and he's like, I don't know why he's saying that, like, he's not the one that has to deal with it, like I do, like, in terms of like, I'm the one that has to, deal with that fire on the court, essentially. So again, when you respect them, you talk less trash. You really talk trash to the people that you do not respect. So that's why Draymond Green was doing it. He was letting the Houston Rockets know, you're not on our level. Get out of here. He's trying to intimidate them. He's part of the intimidation factor. That's just the way it works. That's the way the NBA goes. So calling that out doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me personally. But right, if they lose, then you can say they'll be clowned or whatever. But I don't know. I don't see it that way. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Chris Broussard's Under Duress list. And please don't forget to subscribe. As I said, we are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.